Say hi, Pepe. All right. Hello there, Kenny Durkin here. I'm here with my good friend Pepe the King Prawn. Pepe is a 3D sculpt that I did on the Bamboo A1 printer. Um, I did not sculpt him. This is not my sculpt. This was done by an artist named Peter Farrel, who I found online, and I'll get into that in a minute. But I want to give him credit for the actual sculpt. Um, this is a project that started innocently enough, um, and maybe a cautionary tale for you. And when you find out how crazy I am after seeing this video, I hope we're still friends. Um, but uh, all this was supposed to be was like a 2 or 3 day project. Really, really simple. This is not something that I needed. It was just a means to get rid of some filament. What I was trying to do was, when you 3D printing, the filament comes on a roll like this, on a cardboard roll, and it usually comes about this big when you first get it, and it goes on a spool like this, and it goes on the spool, and it spools off of there. Um, you can save some money when you're buying filament by only buying the roll and having extra spools around. And what I was trying to do with this project was get rid of some of these. This is filament at the end of its roll, and I've got little bits of filament everywhere, and it's not enough to do like a huge print on. But my thought was, if I could get rid of some of these, I would have more space for these. Um, just the way. By the way, you can print these. You could 3D print these, which is what I should have done from the beginning. I should have just printed it from the beginning. Then I wouldn't have had to do this thing to get rid of filament. But not, that's not the way I think. So my thought was, I would just go online and I would find any kind of random print that interested me, and I would slice it up into sections and print with the different colored filaments. It wouldn't matter what color filaments I had. Print it up in different colors, put it together, primer it, and paint it. And that would be a way for me to print something kind of bigger, but still get rid of, save some space, and free up some of these. That's it. That's all I was going to do. Simple, no big deal. So I went online and I found this Pepe model, and it was sculpted again by Peter Farrel, who did a terrific job. And I was looking at that and I went, boy, he really nailed it. That's what I'm going to do. And right away I thought, you know what? I bet I could print him, quote unquote, life size. So I think this is pretty close to how big he actually is. The proportions might be a little off. I think maybe his legs are longer in real life. His neck may be longer in real life, but it's close enough. I thought, well, that'd be fun. That'd be a fun little throwaway project. No big deal. It's not going to take me a lot of time. It can just be chugging away printing while I'm doing other things. So I took the model and I brought it into Bamboo, the Bamboo Slicer, which is the program that is kind of the between point between the sculpting and the printing. You can bring your model into the Bamboo Slicer and you can adjust the scale, and you can separate it into pieces and do different things to prepare it for being printed. So what I did with Pepe was I took him apart into pieces that were, in other words, I wouldn't have to print the entire thing. If something got messed up, I would have, I got the legs done, I got the body done, I got the arms done, and I don't have to print them again if some other section of him does get screwed up. So that's what I did. I started with the legs, and the legs printed great. And I had sectioned the body off in half here, kind of diagonally, and with these two arms, and that printed great. And then I had the arms separate, and those printed great. And then we got to the head, and I don't think it's a problem with the model. I think it's a problem with the operator. Um, the hair was giving me all kinds of problems. I had one night when I started the print and I went to bed, and I got up the next morning and I came out and there was just spaghetti everywhere. It was a complete disaster. Um, and I tried and tried and tried and tried and tried. And meanwhile, I'm going through all of this filament now. Like, it's counter what I was trying to do. What I was trying to do was kind of use up some things and be kind of, kind of frugal and just not have any waste. And it ended up going the opposite direction on me. And actually, you know, my instinct, I kind of grappled with giving up. I was like, you know what? It's not worth it. It's no big deal. But I was so far into it, and I was so bullheaded about it that I was like, you know what? I got to keep going with this thing. So I kept trying and trying and trying with the head, and I couldn't get it to work. I ended up slicing the head here, so I would print just the bottom lip, and then the top part of the head with the antennas and the hair, and that actually would have made it easier to paint the inside of his mouth too, which worked out real well in the end. But the hair was giving me so much trouble. I finally decided, what if I eliminate the hair altogether? In the slicer, I'll cut the hair off. I'll print the antennas separately, and I'll just print his head hairless. And then I'll find ostrich feathers that are red, and I'm up all night sourcing ostrich feathers at some point, and put them on top of his head. And so that's what I did. And so I started piecing him together, and I got him to the point where he was completely printed. And I glued him together, and I sanded it down, and I worked on it, got it all smoothed out the best I could, tried to hide the seams the best I could and all that. And then I painted it with a gray primer. Painted it all down so he was completely gray. And then I brought him back and I started painting him. And as I painted him, I was realizing that either my paints are bad, my brushes are bad, or I'm bad. But it wasn't painting the way I wanted to. And again, I almost abandoned it. I was like, you know what? This isn't worth the time. It's just a silly little throwaway project. And I went, no, I'm already in this thing too far. I'm going to keep going. And so finally, layer after layer after layer, I finally got him painted to the way I was pretty much happy with him. In the end, and then something that I really like to do with certain sculpts, I do it with a lot of the other bigger Muppet characters that I do and things like that, is I like, after it's painted, I like to hit it with a clear matte paint. And what that does is it knocks the shine off of it and kind of softens it a little bit. And this is still a bit, I did 2 coats of the matte and it's still a little bit shiny. I think if he actually had texture sculpted on him and even texture on his clothes, it would kind of diffuse the light a little bit and not be as shiny. But it's not bad. It's not bad. And then I did find some ostrich hair, and I attached it to the top of his head, and there he is. He's all set. And what did I learn from this? This thing took me 3 weeks. It was supposed to take 3 days. It took way longer than I wanted it to, but I am kind of happy with the way he looked. He looks great with the other Muppet replicas that I have. He kind of fits right in there. But what did I learn from him? I think I kind of grapple with knowing when to give up. Sometimes you got to give up, and sometimes you got to keep going. And knowing when it's right to give up and when you should push through. And I'm glad I pushed through. I'm kind of wish I could have my time back that I spent on this. But that's the thing about making mistakes or running into obstacles. You can view them as a nightmare and you can react to them as if they are ruining your life, or you can see them as a learning opportunity and a gift. And so that's kind of the way I look at these mistakes and these piles of spaghetti that are all over the floor and these, you know, it's not time wasted if you're learning from it. And I think one of the things that I like most is the because the hair didn't print, I had to bring in another material, these ostrich feathers, and it really gives him life. It really gives him, um, it really adds something to him. And so that's something that I really want to kind of incorporate with some of my sculpts going forward is to bring in, you know, soft goods. I did it with a snowman that I did, a Muppet snowman. I added a an actual fabric scarf, but incorporating lights. You know, if it's like if it's a character carrying a torch, maybe has got a light that flickers in there, or some sort of. It would have been neat if these were like these strings were actual strings that hung down or something, or even the clothes were real clothes or something. Um, I think it that elevates it beyond just being a simple 3D print. Um, it it makes it the 3D print is the basis for the whole thing, but it elevates it beyond that into a different uh, piece of art or whatever this is. I don't know. So thanks for watching, everybody. I got some videos coming up in a few days that you're really going to like, especially if you're interested in the process of the thogs and the dog lions and other things that I'm about ready to start selling. I know you've been waiting a long time, and I appreciate that. And I'm going to give you an update in a few days. So take care, everybody, and we'll talk to you soon. Bye.